Hello everyone, you're now listening to After Scrum with Ada
and Ami. Here we talk about what is new,
what's interesting,
and what you would have considered difficult to step.
Let's go. Hi guys, welcome back. It's Ada and
Ami
and
Precious.
and it's another episode of After Scrum
with Ada and Ami.
Yeah.
And we have a female viewer.
I don't know.
We have like a very interesting story to share with you guys, and a very interesting person,
Yeah.
personality,
Yeah. Introduce yourself. Go on.
Hey, my name is Precious.
We're holding you at gunpoint. So go on, just introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, my name is Precious Onyewuchi. As Onyewuchi with a W.
Yeah. Interesting name there. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you do, stuff like that.
Right, so I am a technical writer. I do some open source and community stuff, and then I'm also passionate about DEI.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am.
Yeah.
So DEI basically means diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh,
So-
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will know more about that after we talk about our week and our weekend.
How was your week?
My week was stressful. It's been stressful. I feel like it's going to be stressful for the next 2 weeks. It will be stressful.
But my weekend,
Last weekend was fun. Or
we
we were at Tech Unwind
Yeah.
in Ugu, and it was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Save for the rain,
The rain was like on the beat. Okay. You know how when you finish planning something and you're like, okay, this is how today is going to go, and the rain is like, ha.
don't know about
you
it.
need to have another thing coming because what?
Yeah, it was raining like all day.
Yeah.
Very crazy stuff. But the turnout, despite the rain, was
Yes, so that's impressive.
Like when I came in and I saw like
so many. I was like,
Yeah.
people.
Exactly. I
And
was
rain
so
is falling.
surprised.
Gather at
And they were
home
at home.
chilling.
And they were, some people were even in the rain with the
And then
dancing.
the water
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So they now kind of like made it into a water sports activity somehow. When the rain wasn't that much
Yeah.
anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was fun.
It was a very fun event.
I have a
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
Does the weekend start when? Okay, so the weekend starts from Friday.
No, Saturday.
Starts from Saturday. for
When
me.
does it end?
Today.
Today. As far as I'm concerned, in my head,
I mean,
weekend has
for
ended.
you, it starts on. When does it start for you?
Yeah.
I've been thinking. I've not been sure, right? So it's like-
Okay.
weekend. Everybody says weekends like Friday,
Friday
evening.
evening.
You need to close. It's like,
Yeah. The problem with Friday evenings is that
Okay, I can actually say my weekend starts Friday because I actually get to watch Netflix on Friday evenings. Yeah, after work. As in, after my Friday meeting.
yeah.
Either I'm going to the gym, coming back to relax, or I'm going straight into Netflix. Because
I don't know why,
just
but I
have
don't think
to-
about Fridays as weekends. In my head, I'm like, I should probably do some fun things on Friday evenings. But then I just find myself, okay, I'm just trying to make sure that I complete what I'm supposed to do this week. I'm sure it's done. And by the time I know what's happening, it's late. And I'm like, okay, tomorrow, we go hard.
so this weekend is just
Saturday,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, yes.
That's very
Yeah, so it's typically Saturdays and Sundays,
Yeah.
the end of the week.
But I think I've been saying this for a very long time that it's not fair. I don't know who was in charge of this whole week division. I'm supposed to have 1 week, 1 weekend, like 7 days a week, 7 days weekend, 7 days a week. That's when it's not fair.
this thing
We're
reminds me
talking
of-
about equality.
Yeah, there are some countries that have 4-day weekdays.
Yes,
now,
exactly.
And 2-day weekends.
Yes.
Yeah, like
You
it's
see that
actually
the
law now.
productivity. Yeah, the productivity will increase.
I don't really know about that.
That's what I'm projecting. The numbers support me. I don't know the numbers, but I know they will support me. Can't check it.
Okay.
Anyway, what I'm saying is that if we are talking about equality in every other time, we should also be talking about equality for the weeks. Because why should we exclude weeks when we're talking about equality? We're talking about equality of humans. We should also talk about equality of things. Let me not push this agenda.
Yeah, really pushing. Like you're trying so hard. You're pushing. It's not
Let me
working.
not push this agenda too much.
They've
because
already
I'm saying
succeeded in equality for
But we can
animals.
create an Adobe calendar.
right? But the problem is that when you create an Adobe calendar, nobody else is following it. Is it really?
Everybody's following the Roman calendar. Why can't they follow you?
No, everybody's not following.
Well,
the-
like okay, fine. There's like
Fun fact:
Yeah.
Ethiopia is in 2015.
Yes. There was one day I found out that like
Yeah.
there are some countries where I'm like way older than I am, and I'm like, you know what? I know Nigeria is bad, but then can I just age?
Can we not age? Can we not age as fast? Like I'm Ethiopian by age. You know,
Exactly.
I'm Ethiopian by age.
Exactly. I mean, even though they are like, you know,
So like when we had the whole 2020 thing,
yeah.
they were in 2012. So
Oh.
when we'll be scared of like
Oh, every time it
COVID-19
happened in
and 2020 and
yeah,
stuff,
be
so
like,
they're like,
oh, what
oh,
happened
it
in
happened for us in 2012. Yeah.
That's
How is
interesting.
it-
So, they have 13 months.
how do you
in their
interact with the
calendar.
rest of the world then? I'm
Well, they were
wondering-
not colonized,
Oh.
so they get to keep things the way they
It
were.
has always been.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's actually like interesting.
At least they don't get to age fast. So I mean, there's a plus to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but then whenever they are like in someone else's, I wonder like if
Yeah,
someone
exactly.
From, yeah, when you
Adapting, when you
migrate.
leave your
Yeah, right. And then they
country.
move to a different. Which age would they say that?
Yeah,
they
that
are?
is
Is
big
the
jet
one-
lag. Yeah, like yeah.
Yeah, because which year would they say that they are? Like if let's say you are born in 95, right? This is actually like the year that you are born, and then you move.
I mean, they have freedom of. I mean, people are fighting for freedom of gender. They should have freedom of age.
Identifying as an age.
I think that there are a lot of
Nobody
people
can tell them how old they are. If I am 18, I am 18, and that's it, and that's on period.
I think there are a lot of people that can get behind this agenda because man, the way things are going, I don't understand. I'm like, I know I keep saying that my 30s are going to be like the most glorious years for me,
Are you
right?
trying to
But I'm not in a
postpone
hurry.
the 30s,
Exactly.
you know?
I'm not in a hurry to get there. I know that I'm going to like glow. I know I'm going to be look amazing. I know I'm going to have like a lot of money. I know I'm going to be living my baby girl soft life in my 30s. Right, but I still don't want to be in a hurry, right, to get there.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think we've talked a lot about Ethiopia and
Let's get back on track.
we're back to Precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us
This is
about your amazing life in tech. How did you like get into tech before you now decided that wow, I can do all these things and have all these superpowers in tech?
How
Where
do
did
you-
it start out for
She said
you?
amazing. Wow. I like the assumption that it's been amazing. And manifest.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, it's positive here. You know,
How did I get into tech?
Yeah.
I can't say like there's a particular pivotal moment.
okay.
I mean, there's always this whole like playing with stuff like that.
No, it doesn't happen like that for everybody.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Anyway, but it was kind of not out of place at home. If maybe somebody gets a new phone or something, and give it to Precious. So
Aw,
it was actually really nice.
okay.
But I'm not sure I knew that it was a career path.
Okay.
You know now, so you're born. God help you, you're smart to an extent. I mean, at least in your small cubicle,
Yeah.
you're kind of smart, and then everybody's like, "She be a doctor."
Yeah.
I think I was so excited about it at the time. I even had like a name for my hospital.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it shocks me sometimes. Then I think so. In school, but everybody in my house kind of like did computer lessons, so that was kind of commonplace. But I
Okay.
think in school, there was one class where secondary school,
Okay.
our teacher was mentioning you can actually do this in school and all these kind of things. And then I think one time my uncle was asking me what you want to do, and he was like, "Well, since you're kind of like computer inclined, you can actually explore this thing." I was like, "No, that's nice."
Okay.
So I think so. I decided, okay, fine. I wanted to do engineering. It was a kind of tussle.
Yeah.
Okay, between computer and engineering.
Oh, not me.
Oh, at
I
Oh,
kind
at
of knew what
home.
I wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. Where did this one come out from? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
how
get
many
that.
people to say this is you? And
Yeah.
yeah, so it kind of caused a lot of issues for a big shop. But after a while, they were like, my dad was like, okay, fine, I can't make you do anything that you do want to do, Sha. So
After trying hard to make you do it.
Exactly.
that was chill to an extent. I
Yeah.
mean, he just he would ask you, just try to be sure that Shebi Jalo it's not people outside that are influencing you to do something you don't want to do. It was kind of like my mom that was a little bit more insistent on.
Yeah,
you
what
have
Dr.
to be
Precious.
That was nice. That was actually nice.
And then you go to sleep and you're thinking to yourself, just imagine what I could be. But then you're like, you know what? This is actually not my
So
part, right?
They'll come back and they'll be like, I saw young doctors in National Hospital because I grew up in the north and seeing young doctors. Anyway, so after a while, I got into computer science. I think so. That was where I actually got to see other people that were actually doing really, really cool stuff.
Okay.
So I think in year 2 or year 2, there was Oba David. There was this group we tried from Tech Shop, and they were just going from class to class, talking about what they formed, and if you're interested, you can come and join. And so I came, spoke to a few people, and then they were like, okay. So I think after a while, Tech Shop kind of grew into GDG,
Oh, nice.
like Google Developer Students Club. So I think that was the first time that.
Where was that?
So GDG does this thing where they have school communities too.
Was that in Enugu
So
here?
yes.
Okay, it's good in Enugu here.
University.
Okay, you moved from the north to Enugu for school.
It's
It's a long story. Okay,
yes,
let's not go into that.
I moved around
Yeah.
a lot, but yeah, I
Yeah.
schooled in Enugu.
Okay.
So, from Tech Shop, they did Google Developer Students Club, and then I got to meet a bunch of other people too. I was like, oh, hey, you can do coding. So I started playing around.
Prior
with
to
code.
that, sorry, I was asking a question. Prior to that, did you know that, like, okay, when you think about computer science, was it like, okay, I want to, if someone has an issue with their laptop or something like that, and they want me to fix it, or were you thinking about it like, okay, I can actually like build the applications, and that's
Yeah, so now I think I started like when I decided that I wanted to study this thing, right? I think in a way for me to convince my parents and also actually know, because the questions that they kept asking kind of like made me also ask myself if this is something I really wanted to do,
yeah,
right? So I start to research, I'll Google
yeah.
and try to find out if this is what like some possibilities what you want to do.
Yeah.
So it seemed okay. I can actually do something like this. So it did. It wasn't a hardware thing. It was I can sit down at home and
Work.
do really cool stuff. And then
Okay,
they
so
wanted
you
to
saw
be-
people being remote.
Oh no! From Google, I just read stuff.
Oh, okay.
Like wait, that time itself, I think I read Naira Land. Jeez.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just kind of read and you're like, okay, I think it's something I want to do. And then there was Bill Gates now, and I think most people when you start out in tech, you're like, I want to be the next Bill Gates.
Yeah.
It's now that people are like, I want to be next Elon Musk. Before it was like, you know,
I don't
yeah.
even think I want to be either.
What are some misconceptions that you've had, like when you decided you wanted to be in tech and now that you're in tech? What are some of the misconceptions that you had about tech that your mindset has had to change or grow over the years?
Well, you cannot be Bill Gates overnight.
You know, that's valid. That one is valid.
Yeah.
Very, very valid.
And you may not like
You may never actually get there. That's just it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually also fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Become Elon Musk.
All right,
Yeah.
that's actually nice.
I mean, that's interesting because even though you know that it's possible you never get there, I don't think anybody ever actually like accepts it until you get to the point where you're dying and you're almost dead in your grave. Then you're like, okay, maybe I'll never get to the point where I'm like, Bill Gates. Do you not think that you could possibly build something maybe later in the future that could actually like be very impactful and get you to that place at one point?
Yeah, I think it's, you know what, it's fine. If you build, it's fine. If you don't build, it's fine. If you're part of the team, it's fine. I think that's where I am at. So, like, why did you choose to, like, be fully into technical writing instead of fully into writing? Because I don't know if technical writing was, like, a thing or so big of a thing when you were doing your initial community stuff, because from what you've said, you started community from school, so like why did you choose that path?
Technical right.
Yeah,
It was an entirely let me explore something different. I swear to God.
Yeah.
So we're doing outreach. That was last year.
okay.
And then I actually signed up because I wanted to contribute to Python projects. And I saw this really cool project that I liked, Chaos. I liked the whole description. So what Outreach does is when you get past the first phase, you enter the contribution phase, they list a bunch of organizations that are interested, and then you read through their descriptions, and then you start contributing to them, right? So I saw it. I saw some of the requirements. So they kind of grade the requirements from 1 to 5. 1 is like very little knowledge, like nice to have, all these kind of things. Okay, no, I think 1 is like no knowledge, but you can learn quickly. And 2 is like nice to have. 3 is like meh. 4 is a little bit more experience, and then 5 is like
an
you have to
expert.
be very, very not expert, because I mean it's literally an intense stuff. But at least you should not come and start asking me how do I do things that are past basic.
Yeah.
So the requirements were not a lot, and I was like, I actually like to write, and this seems like an interesting thing to do. Let me just try it. So I wanted to try something different from coding. Period. So
I also think that, like, one big issue that I have usually when people talk about technical writing is that I used to think that technical writing was something that you did as someone that codes, right? So it's kind of like something you think about while you're coding. So I want to understand, like, at what point you actually like realize that, apart from what you've said now, we found the requirements on Chaos, and it was like, okay, when did you realize that, okay, this is actually like something completely separate from the whole coding?
So I don't think it's separate.
Yeah. Okay.
I think throughout the periods that I've interacted with a bunch of technical writers, other people, I think you kind of realize that there are two kinds at some point. There are people who are good at communication, English and stuff, so they just start technical writing, right? And there are people who have more of a technical coding background. So it's not an either or thing, at least for me anyway. So it's actually really nicer if you have coding experience, because you're literally going to be explaining or giving people an insight into technical products. So it's easier if you can understand what people are talking about to an extent, so that you know what you're explaining to people. But there are people that actually do not have technical background, and they are able to get into technical writing. As long as you can do your research, you can ask the right questions, and luckily for you, you're on a good team with engineers that actually are able to
know how to communicate.
Exactly.
So very important.
That kind of helps. But most technical writers, even those that don't have the same background, will tell you it's a huge plus if you know what the engineers are talking about. So
someone told me that. So I registered for a technical writing class. There's this guy that has been doing really well in technical writing, and I registered for his class with a friend, and I'm still going through. But someone told me that why I was convinced to do it. He said he believes everybody in tech should have knowledge of technical writing, whether you're a software developer, whether you're a designer, whatever you're doing, because it helps you to communicate better. So I think it's actually really cool. It's a really good skill to have that you can even chase
while you're also coding.
Exactly.
And if you decide you're tired of coding, you could just write. I think it's interesting that can you really tell us like a bit more of what technical writing is, because a lot of people, when they think about tech, all they think about is coding. And it's one of the reasons why we have this place, because there are so many parts of tech that are not coding. Okay, they are all related to the product anyways, which is a coding product, but they are also as important as coding. So can you tell us a bit of what technical writing is, and maybe if someone wanted to throw that part, what the person could do?
So typically for me, technical writing is kind of like telling product stories, right? So you build something really cool, but for other people to know that it's really cool, you have to tell them about it, right? So you're letting them know I build product A, and product A does this is how to use product A, this is what is expected when you use this to do, when you use product A to do this. And actually, like with most things people build, there's no telling how people can use it, right? And I think that's a very interesting thing, which is also kind of like how open source comes in, right? So maybe you build product A and you've written the documentation for it, but then I start experimenting with product A, and I'm like,
Just work for my own use case.
Yeah, so that you can, okay, fine, and then somebody can always let you know that this particular use case you've created for it doesn't work for me. Maybe you build with Windows and I use macOS and they're not compatible. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to figure out a different way to either let them know that I'm sorry, but we cannot create for macOS, or you let them know that, oh, you can try using maybe WSL, like a virtual box on your.
So
system
what you're
if you
saying
want
is that technical writing, your audience is actually the users and not
yeah,
the,
building for the user.
yes, okay. So technical writers actually like write this thing for like the users to read, not the other, like the developers
So there's two
to
kinds.
read.
No, it's two. There's like different kinds of technical writing. There's the internal documentation, and then there's the end user documentation. So internal documentation is the one that when you're onboarded into a new company or something, that's where you kind of get used to what's happening around, right?
Yeah.
And then the end user is the one that, okay, we've built this and we want other people to use it.
Yeah.
So that one is literally one that is for the user, right? So
Yeah.
you have to make sure your user is satisfied. It's not you
Yeah.
that is building it.
Because
That's
if they're not satisfied, the
There's
money is
no
not coming.
point.
Yeah, exactly.
well, the money is one part,
Yeah.
actually, but yes.
Yeah, they won't use the product and the money will stop coming.
There are certain products that people don't get money from.
You
Okay.
don't know that. See what I know about products. If you are not paying, you are the source of income.
But then wait, maybe that's where open source. When you talk about open source,
not all products
yeah,
are paid
like,
for.
yeah. So I've always like wondered
Okay, yes, now tell
about
us.
like when people build open source products that are like, these are like people that are just contributing their time and code into like writing this thing. Okay, we want to get this thing out, and it's just like charity, doing charity work sometimes. So I've always wondered, like, apart from the feel good that you get from like, I've done something good for the society. What's in it for you?
Really,
Well,
really.
Apart from also I know you're about to say developing your skills.
there's developing your skills, and people actually do get
People have developed their
So
skills
those people that
to
get
point.
paid,
Yeah.
right? How do they get paid?
Okay, so there's some plans. I think Bigger Blue Button does that, where
Okay.
Bigger Blue Button is like Google. I like
Okay.
the name. That's why I kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So there are some open source projects that are like it's freemium that they're called. I can't
Okay.
remember. But what they do is they make some part of their product free, and then when you want maybe more, you now have to pay.
Yeah, I think
right?
most products have premium package at this point.
The difference is that you have a say in how the product is built. So, for instance, you think, let me use a design perspective. You think this red is not good for people that are colorblind.
Okay.
So you can always raise a GitHub issue and say, for accessibility purposes or for DI purposes, I would like to propose a different color scheme for this product so that it's going to be able to reach people that have color blindness,
Okay.
right? And then, because it's an open source project, you have other people too that can come in and say, well, can we use this color? Can we use that color? Or I'm colorblind. From my perspective, this is how it works. And if you have a lot of people that are able to give different opinions to that thing, and then obviously there's a maintainer because too much chaos and like no order can kind of cause problems. So you have a maintainer or a reviewer that can go through those suggestions, and then if the changes you've created or made are good enough and they work in that, like they will not break everything.
Yeah.
They merge your code or what? It's not just code. There are different ways you can contribute. Design, or maybe you can manage a new project that's coming out from an open source community.
Okay.
You can.
So wait, I wanted to mention something before we move
Yeah.
on to mention to listen some of these things. I'm saying, so the guy that is a maintainer at this point, he's kind of like a permanent person, because, or is it like you can have like a lot of maintainers on the project and maybe they decide. I know you've worked on open source projects and you've been part of like people that have started open source projects. I know about this. What's the name of this? Nkowa or something like that.
I just started Nkowa.
Okay. I thought that you were among the like
no.
group
I'm
of-
not
okay.
part of funding.
Okay, alright, but then like I've always wondered, like, if the maintainers are like kind of like you do get to that stage, maybe like you've done a lot of things for this open source project that you've kind of like grown your trust level,
Yeah.
right? And then eventually they're like, okay, you know what? I think that you have reached maintainer status, and then you can now be able to merge code
Other
and stuff
yeah.
like that. Is that what happens there, or is it like there's just one person here that has to be the person that makes sure that the stability of this product is kept? And how is that not a full-time job for the person? Because I feel like if it's open source, a lot of people want to contribute to the project, a lot of people want to add code to the project, right? And
your time.
yes,
Your time,
exactly,
you're
exactly.
reviewing
It
the
goes
code.
into it. So
Yeah, so like, okay, I know that you are not like more into the coding side. I think you're more into the technical writing side. How does open source, how can you say it has helped your career contributing for free to products?
So it's not always.
Okay, fine.
They've actually been cases where you actually get paid.
Okay,
Where, like,
fine.
I've been paid because I'm working on an open source project.
Okay.
Right. Can I answer her question?
Yes.
Right. So I think essentially what you're asking me is, can you contribute? Like, is there hierarchy somehow?
yes.
Right. So luckily, the core open source project I belong to is Chaos, right?
Yes.
And what we do is basically measure open source projects and their health, like metrics and stuff, to be sure that okay, you are being
Meeting the standard.
and it's not because they focus a lot on DEI, so
Okay.
it's to make sure that what this open source project is doing is beneficial and also like healthy to the community members, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So typically there's always cases for people to be able to move to maintainer level, and it's actually open, like everybody can see it. You can see what you have to do or maybe how long, and I think it's rotational too, because recently they added new people to the board, so there's how much you can actually contribute and
Yeah.
your efforts to be recognized.
Okay, so my question was, how has open source helped you so far in your career? Like working on open source projects. I don't want to say free again because you've made us know that some projects can be paid.
Yeah, and actually there are actually some that are like actual some are actually organizations that have like paid staff,
Okay.
contracts or full-time staff, right? Which is also part of the reason why if you're using an open source project that has been helpful for you and you have the money, donate. There's actually an option on GitHub to sponsor an open source
Oh,
project.
okay.
Yeah.
So do that. Help the universe. So sometimes it's actually really interesting the people you can meet in your projects, right? You maybe be contributing to your project and meet somebody that will tell you, I was existing when open source just started. Right. I think I was in one interview on open source community or project, and he's mentioned that he finished school and then he was like in 1990, I think when open source was created.
Okay.
I think 1994. I'm not sure what year again. I remember when Linux was created, not open source, and it was actually very interesting. So it's actually really cool. Some of the people you can meet.
Okay.
It's also really, you can also like get opportunities to speak at conferences. It kind of also opens very interesting doors because you can. So that there was this one time Adobe mentioned that I was supposed to speak at a conference, right? So actually the way it happened was I applied to speak for CUS, right? And they heard about the topic and they're like, I think you should speak about something related to this too, that we have Flux Federal happening. But anyway, Nigeria happened. So right, so it's also really nice the opportunities that it can open for you, and also knowledge, to be honest, because prior to getting into outreach and meeting chaos and learning about open source, I didn't even actually know that DI was a thing to the scale that it is, right? And learning about how much thought is given into making sure that when the product is brought out, it's able to serve more than one demographic, right? So you see so you see metrics that are checking, can nursing mothers use this product?
Really?
Can blind people use this product? Can deaf people use this product? Can people who are like physically impaired use this product, right? So it's actually really, really nice, and it also helped me see that when people mention DEI, because when you say things like maybe diversity, equity, and inclusion, everybody thinks it's women, right? So it's far beyond that. It's people in countries that have very slow internet like here. So part of the things that they do is maybe when we have meetings, you don't have to turn on your video. your
Nice.
video can be off, and you can actually type if you're in an environment that does not enable you to like speak at the time.
Mhm.
It may not seem like much
You know,
from
yeah.
here, but what it's doing is that it's giving other people access to meetings like this, because for instance, something like Google Meet that actually helps with bandwidth for
Yeah.
people that have lower bandwidth.
Yeah.
If you are on a meeting, you don't have to, and your data is like you're managing your data. First forget that data is expensive and we don't have a lot of light all the time.
Yeah.
So when you don't have to like turn on your video during a meeting. I mean, I'm saying it now and it doesn't look like a lot.
Yeah,
But it's actually like on the grand scheme of things. I think another thing is also factoring in different people's time zones.
Okay.
So like it also means as asynchronous communication is also encouraged,
Mhm.
right? Where you can, instead of always having to hop on the call to talk, you can, okay, fine, just text me on Slack. Let me know.
I mean,
your
it could
updates and
easily
stuff.
have
Yeah,
been
sometimes
a-
that can an email.
you know, a text.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that kind of like, it's actually really cool seeing all these factors being considered.
Yeah.
So it exposes you to a different kind of knowledge.
Okay.
It exposes you
Fair
to
enough.
people.
Mm.
And then sometimes you can also get lucky and you get contracts to work on open source projects,
Mhm.
write about open source stuff, and
Grow your
champion new
career.
stuff that are coming.
And that's actually
That's
awesome,
interesting,
You know? That's
yeah.
like a selling point,
Yeah.
you know, that I think should be championed more. You know?
When people talk about open source.
Yeah.
I think that majorly, if you think about open source, I think that's where like
People think
networking. Yeah, people think free, right? But then if you go in deep and you check out open source, I think the main reason why a lot of people actually like decide to do it is like, it gives you access to some opportunities that you probably not be able to get if you are just like on your own.
And with lesser hurdles.
Yeah,
Because
exactly. So you mentioned that you've been involved in community building through like, while you were in school, and we met actually for the first time at Pink Summer of Code, which was also like something that was like a
community project.
Yeah, it was a community project.
Yeah.
And eventually from there we've gone on to actually like, become one of the key players in like with making sure that Pink Summer is something that happens like yearly for girls and stuff like that. So I wanted you to talk a little bit more about like, community building and why that's important to you as a person.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think until last year, I've not even actually. I mean, I've in school. I was kind of like part of some core teams. So the core team for GDSC, sorry, Google Developer Students Club.
Okay.
But from last year, it was kind of like they gave me like this baby and like there's space about it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot. And I think like last year's experience and this year's experience is very, very different.
Yeah.
And it's always very interesting, right? So I think the reason why it's kind of important to me is because I know that, like you mentioned, we first met at Pink Summer of Tech, like the Pink Summer of
Code
Code
at the time.
then,
Yeah.
right? And it was because T-Boy said, oh, we want to try to do something for females in Enugu. And I know that people mention and say everything, they're doing a lot of women stuff now, right? And it might look like a lot, but when you actually start talking to some people, you just realize that, wings is more, right?
Mhm.
And that's not to say that it should not also include other people too, right? I'm just saying because this is like my own reality. Anyway, so there are people who will not have access to these things if all these initiatives are not carved out for a particular niche. So for people who may have really strict parents and you say, I want to go for a tech conference or a class that they're teaching something on programming, we have different realities. I've seen people who actually their parents might get, or their guardian, whoever it is with them, you're going there to go and do this, they're going to be boys there, there's no way you're telling the truth. I mean, actually, for that actual Pink Summer of Code, I remember T-Boy saying that year that there was this one girl that her parents did not let to come out because they were suspicious of her movement.
Oh.
Right? And for things like this might actually increase the trust parents have when you say it's only girls that are going to be there and you're not lying, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of helps when you niche these things down. And for people who are actually like maybe they have maybe some kind of anxiety or they have some kind of past trauma that makes them to seek out groups that are created for a particular demographic, it kind of also reaches out to them to say, this place is a safe space for you. Everybody here is like you. You can come here, right? So it helps. I don't think, I mean, maybe I would have gotten into like meeting some of these people that I've met now, maybe sometime later in life. I don't know. We can't really tell. But it's actually really cool to see that from Pink Summer of Code, I was able to meet Ada, and like we've been friends since then for that long, and the amount of people that I also met, and people who maybe the growth has been, because I know that, okay, fine, for me, my growth was not like linear. There's always been up, downs and stuff, but it's actually really nice to see that this kind of movement started something for me, right? And I think for last year too, you'd also see ladies, because we had some people towards the end of the program. We had some people who wanted to continue learning, but they could not like afford some kind of maybe extra materials, data, that sort of thing. And I was like, okay, fine, let's help you do this to the best that we could at the time, right? And then it's actually really cool. It's something that I actually really I'm proud of and I like to do.
Okay.
Right. So
that's fair enough. Oh,
That's
nice.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any. I'm not thinking about any question right now.
Yeah. So like, how do you unwind? You do a lot of things.
Yeah.
How do you unwind? And before you go to how do you unwind, there's something that I have seen like since we've exchanged contacts, and you tend to attend a lot of tech events. How has that been for you, and which ones have been your favorite so far?
Yeah.
well,
Which reminds me that you owe me swag. After this, we'll talk about it, ma.
okay.
Don't okay me.
I think my favorite for this year was Oscar Fest.
Okay.
Right. I think it was Oscar Fest.
See how we are not in this we are there. But I think that through the pictures that we saw,
Yeah.
I actually like
what stood out for you.
Let's see what stood out for me. I got to meet people that had so Chaos Con Africa was co-located with Oscar Fest. So it was done a day before Oscar Fest.
Okay.
Right. So I got to meet a lot of people that I'm talking with on Slack for like a
Oh,
year.
that's really
It was a lot
nice.
of oh my god, see you. Right.
Yeah.
And then you kind of know that okay, most people there are you learn from more experienced people.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting the kind of opportunities that can come out from just people used to say attend conferences and you might meet this, you might like be able to get an opportunity that probably change your life.
Yeah.
And even though that may not happen, but at least it kind of gives you a different outlook to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a tech conference and somebody says, I was in Kaduna and I was able to contribute to this global project. And since Oscar Fest is an open source thing, it's like the largest open source
In Africa, right?
yeah, community and like gathering in Africa. So it's really nice to see people say, I contributed to Fedora, I contributed to Ubuntu, I contributed to
Okay.
maybe Node.js, because Node.js is also open source too.
Yeah.
And even something that may not actually be so well known, but you can see how much impact it's doing, right? So it's actually really nice. It kind of lets you that are ready. Well, I'm tired though. I don't think I was in content. Or what's goal out of this? Or what's actually something like bringing out of this? It's actually really nice to meet other people that tell you. I became maybe a GitHub staff. I'm contributing to open source, or I've been able to impact schools by a product I built that everybody knows. And then I think another thing, not seem like much, but the food there is always good. I'm not playing.
I mean,
Because actually Eden is the one that's supplied for this
oh,
year.
nice. Oh, you did
Their food
like.
is
I
actually
mean, they're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, this there is this idea I have about tech events, and it's my own bias. Maybe because most of the tech events I have attended are in Enugu, and I've only attended one tech event in Lagos. But I feel like tech events are basically just go and sit down and listen to stuff. That's my own bias.
Inspire to aspire.
Yes,
That would be
aspire
right.
to Kafaya by people who have been paid to come and aspire to Kafaya. That's my bias. Do you get it? It's the way I feel about it. But now you come out to say that, okay, you can get opportunities from here and so on and so forth. How do you advise people to network? Because the only way you can actually get those opportunities is if you network, you know. So how do you advise people to network and put themselves in a position to get something out of a conference and not just like give out their time?
This is probably going to be where okay, so I think for most of the events I attend, I kind of already know people there, right? So it's kind of people that I've met online. I'm actually quite, I mean, aside from what it looks like, I can get like really anxious talking to new people.
Okay.
So for the most part, events I attend are people that I kind of already know people in. And so maybe you've met them virtually before, then you can come and meet them in real life and you're like, oh my god, this is me, and they're like, oh my god, hi, and that kind of thing. But I think in situations where I wanted to meet somebody and I do not know them, it's easier if you look for somebody that you know that knows them.
Okay, so like is someone that
And I
knows
think
nobody.
it's terrible
I was
advice,
just-
exactly, because if you
I
were
was just
new,
advised to go there. You'd just be like you're like in the ocean.
not
basically.
really. So I think if you don't know anybody, you can start with at least listen to maybe what there's obviously going to be something that maybe read through. Most of the topics are actually published before time,
Okay.
so you can maybe read through a topic
Okay.
and they're like, okay, this is my favorite topic. And when you go there, you start with conversations, right? There are places, there are cases where you, maybe I've been somewhere and don't really know anybody, but you like what was said. So you can actually speak to the speaker or the person next to you, and somehow a conversation might start. And it's not that hard to say, like, hi, my name is Precious, and this person is this. You can start talking.
Alright. Fair enough. Meet people.
I
Don't
think
be scared.
most conferences, I mean, I know that they are paid conferences, but some people actually voluntarily decide to come and speak about something.
Yeah. True, but I mean that's my bias.
Don't worry.
That's a good advice. Yeah. So I think it's very interesting, like the things you've been able to do in tech, like since you've been there. What are the kind of things that you look forward to? What should we be seeing more of?
From
You
you.
know, from you. What should we be anticipating from Precious?
I don't know. Don't anticipate, please don't be anxiety.
It's good. She used to change. Like she decided today that this person she's going to be, and she reinvents herself 1,000,000 times.
But I think something that that kind of caught my interest
Yeah.
was try to get open source funding.
Yeah.
Right? Here's why. So like you said, most people kind of like devote their time. I mean, as much as there are obviously more advocation for people to donate to open source projects and people getting money sometimes from open source projects, the truth is that it's actually quite neglected in the case of funding and stuff, right? So something that I want to genuinely explore is trying to see how open source projects can be funded more, because it's actually it's very, very pivotal. There are a lot of things that we're using as software engineers or people in tech that are enabled by open source, and then imagine that they cannot keep on being funded, or these people who contribute a lot of their lives to this particular thing cannot continue building that stuff. But aside from that, I think cases where, especially for DI kind of advocations, people from maybe more underprivileged backgrounds being able to access. Maybe now you want to attend the open source conference in the EU, right? The opportunities or maybe the possibilities are endless of what can come out of that. But because you are from a not so privileged background to attend these things, you cannot access it, right? And actually, these people actually take out time to create scholarships for people. But there are cases where the scholarships are not enough because there's not enough funding for it. Right? So that's obviously something that I want to look into to see how much I can
contribute to that.
Yes,
That's
this thing.
really awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Do you have any
interesting.
more?
No, I already said I didn't have any more questions.
All right.
But if our followers or our listeners want to get to know you more, or talk about open source or technical writing,
Or
where do
DEI.
they, exactly where do they get access to you, like your social media handles and stuff?
Twitter.
Yeah.
What's your
At,
handle?
like, at PRESWH and then 0.
That your username is very disturbing, but okay.
Why
Yes.
is
It's difficult to kind of
Why?
at PRESC. If it's like
It's like fresh, right?
then
With an
O.
extra H and then 0. Because I'm the first one.
That's fair
Oh, no,
enough.
it's-
You know?
And then like it's literally Precious Onyewuchi, any other place.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, and please join Chaos.
Yes.
Yeah, that's like my favorite open source community.
All right. All right. We'll look into chaos
Yeah.
and try and create some chaos there.
Yes, we're chaotics.
Alright.
It's all right. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so much.
for talking to us about open source. I think I've learned a lot and
Yeah.
I've become more open-minded with this.
She's going to
Open-minded.
she's going to try to attend a tech event in the future.
Yeah. Attend them first.
We'll see about that. We will see about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really
Thank you for
appreciate
having
having you here.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.